if I told you you are not separate from nature? You are nature, down to your very DNA. We share up to 60% of our DNA with bananas, 85% with mice, and over 90% with cats and dogs. Why? Because the code of life is one. All life is written in the same sacred code. DNA is the script, the breath of the divine made visible. Your body is made of carbon, iron, nitrogen, the very elements forged in collapsing stars. The atoms in your body were once in ancient oceans, plants, and animals. We are literally made of stardust. The breath you inhale was exhaled by trees. The iron in your blood once ran through the soil. You are not on Earth. You are of it. Your body is a mirror of the infinite, a sacred instrument tuned to the frequency of creation. You are the cosmos experiencing itself through eyes, skin, and heartbeat. So next time you see a bird, a tree, or a storm, remember, they are not outside you. They are expressions of the same divine source that lives in you.
We've shown that DNA is actually the software of life. It's totally interchangeable between the digital world and the biological world. The DNA code itself is so digital, it's almost exactly like a computer tape. Not only interchangeable, the DNA code is code. Scientists have come to the amazing conclusion that our bodies contain digital code. In fact, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, tweeted, "DNA is more advanced than any software ever created." Think about it, a program or code is always written by someone very smart. The more complex the code, the more intelligent the author must be. So here's the question. If our DNA code is more complex than any man-made software, where did it come from? Is it really possible it was authored without an author? Programmed without a programmer? Materialists think so, through Neo-Darwinism, the modern version of Darwinian evolution. Stephen Meyer, author of the New York Times bestseller Darwin's Doubt, explains. According to Neo-Darwinism, new genetic information arises as a result of random mutations in the arrangement of nucleotide bases along the spine of the DNA molecule. If those random changes are beneficial, they're preserved and passed on. If enough such changes are preserved, over time they may result in significant morphological changes in the organism. But that's like saying if a video game had glitches every time it was copied online, and gamers shared their favorite mutated versions and deleted the rest, it would eventually turn into a new blockbuster game. We know computer glitches don't produce better software. So how much sense does it make to believe that glitches, copying errors in our DNA, can produce new organisms? Can random mutations in DNA really produce something meaningful? Everything we know about software shows that random changes in a section of functional code degrade that information long before you ever get to something new or improved. That's the central problem with the mutation selection mechanism as an explanation for new genetic information. Information in DNA is digital. And there are far more ways to go wrong than to go right. As you randomly change those base pairs, you inevitably fall into a non-functional abyss long before you ever generate anything fundamentally new. So just how unlikely is it for random mutations to create something new, say, a protein with a new function? One scientist did the math. Meet Douglas Axe, a molecular biologist from Seattle. In his lab work, he asked, how rare or common are functional proteins in the total space of possible sequences? By performing experiments and calculations, he found they're exceedingly rare, like 1 in 10 rare. To grasp that, imagine someone hides one atom somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy, and you, blindfolded, must randomly pick that exact atom. Even those odds are better than the odds of randomly getting a functional protein. Axe calculated the probability of all the chance mutations in all life forms on Earth for billions of years, and concluded they couldn't produce even one new functional protein structure. Not one. 0. And remember, it takes thousands of distinct proteins to build even the simplest complex life form, including humans. Many of those proteins are unique to each organism. So we go from improbable to essentially impossible. Bottom line. The mutation selection mechanism lacks the creative power to generate the biological information needed to build new organisms. If material processes can't explain the origin of that information, then where did it come from? Darwin himself said that uniform and repeated experience is the basis of scientific reasoning about the past. So when we see digital information, in a paragraph, or in software, and trace it back to its source, it always leads to a mind, not to a mindless process. That's what we know through direct observation. Information always comes from intelligence. So we can apply that logic to biology. When we see that information is the foundation of life, we can infer that the best explanation for its origin is also a mind, a conscious agent, not a blind, undirected process. But when faced with evidence that contradicts neo-Darwinism, many scientists still cling to a belief in blind evolution, denying what science has discovered. That at the foundation of life lies a digital code so advanced, so complex, it defies chance. They refuse to consider the possibility that we were created by an intelligence far more sophisticated than the greatest of programmers. They limit themselves to a strictly materialistic worldview. But we are not materialists. We see the human soul. We experience love. We live with purpose. We fight for justice. Now ask yourself, if you were designing a universe for life, would you have done it differently? Some claim there is no evidence of design or purpose in our universe. I am a speck on a speck orbiting a speck in the middle of specklessness. I suck. Really? Is that what you believe? Not everyone agrees. Freeman Dyson, one of the world's leading physicists, said, "The more I examine the universe and study the details of its architecture, the more evidence I find that the universe, in some sense, must have known that we were coming. So maybe it's not an accident that Earth is habitable." Dr. Jen Namati, senior engineer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, explains, "What we've discovered in recent decades is that the universe and our planet are not just fine-tuned for survival, but for thriving. Earth is not merely habitable, it is hospitable. Imagine being a space explorer landing on a distant planet. No water. No oxygen. It's minus 300 degrees. You're doomed. But in the distance, you spot a house. You enter, and it's filled with warm air, drinkable water, and stocked food. What's your first thought? That it was built by accident? Or that someone prepared it for you? Our planet Earth is that house. It has water, carbon, and oxygen. It has an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere in the perfect ratio. We have tectonics, a magnetosphere, a stabilizing moon, gas giants like Jupiter cleaning cosmic debris, and we orbit a stable sun in a habitable galaxy. Earth is exceedingly rare. Yet some still claim there is no purpose. No design. Even though Earth checks off every requirement needed for life. Now consider the fine-tuning of the universe. Frank Tipler, cosmological physicist, says, "Fine-tuning refers to the fact that if we slightly modified the constants of nature, life could never appear. Try using a universe app. Start tweaking the fundamental laws. Gravity, too strong, stars collapse. Too weak, stars can't form elements. Speed of light, too fast or slow, chaos ensues. All these constants are delicately balanced. Just right." Stephen Meyer explains, "Gravity, not too strong, not too weak. Speed of light, not too fast, not too slow. The force ratios, exactly balanced." Scientists have crunched the numbers. For gravity alone, the fine-tuning required is worse than 1 in a billion trillion trillion. And that's just one constant. Many others, electromagnetic strength, cosmological constant, nuclear forces, are even more finely tuned. Without this fine-tuning, the universe would be a horror story even Stephen King couldn't imagine. So yes, it really looks like design. Even Nobel-winning physicist Charles Townes once said, "Intelligent design, as one sees it from a scientific point of view, seems to be quite real. This is a very special universe. But materialists offer an escape, the multiverse. They say, yes, life is improbable. But if there are billions of universes, one of them had to get lucky, and we're in it. However, there's no evidence these universes exist. No equations, no experiments, no observations. We don't take references from ancient Vedic texts that mention multiverses, so why take speculative theories as fact? While materialist scientists often posit a multiverse, a vast collection of other universes, as a statistical escape hatch for the incredible fine-tuning of our cosmos, suggesting that our universe just happened to hit the cosmic lottery, it's worth noting that the idea of multiple universes is not new. In fact, ancient wisdom traditions, particularly the Vedic scriptures, speak extensively of Brahma Koi, countless universes, each with its own unique characteristics and manifestations, all emanating from a singular, ultimate source. Texts like the Srimad Bhagavatam describe innumerable universes, each enveloped in its shell, wandering within the Supreme, like particles of dust blowing about in the sky. Furthermore, the concept of Hiryarbha, the golden womb or cosmic egg, found in the Rigveda, Hiryarbha Sukta, and other texts, symbolizes the primordial source from which a universe emerges, suggesting a continuous process of cosmic creation. This cyclical understanding of existence, where universes are born, sustained, and dissolved, can be seen as a profound ancient intuition echoing the possibility of multiple cosmic iterations. However, whether viewed through a modern scientific lens or through ancient spiritual texts, the core question remains, if multiple universes exist, what authored the mechanism that generates them? The sheer elegance and inherent order required for any such cosmic factory, even one that produces countless universes, points to an intelligent orchestrator, not a blind, accidental process. The fine-tuning, therefore, is not circumvented by the multiverse theory but is elevated, prompting us to consider a deeper, more profound intelligence behind all of existence. And even if universe-generating mechanisms existed, they too require fine-tuning. So you're back to where you started. The evidence for design is overwhelming. All of this shows, you are not insignificant. You are not an accident. You do not suck. Someone had you in mind. We are not materialists. We see the soul. We experience love. We live with purpose. We fight for justice. We are the quiet majority. And we will be quiet no longer.